Hey guys, it's Paula. You can see I have a guest with me today. This is my daughter Grace. Many of you have heard me talk about her. She did meal prep for me the very first time, actually the first and kind of a second time that I did Whole30, and I asked her to come today so that she could help with some tips and advice. She is also a third-year culinary student, and I'm gonna miss her next year. She graduates and will be moving off to culinary college. So anyway, glad she's here to join us today. She's going to do some recipe videos with me along the way. She'll be posting some, and I'll be sure to copy the link for anything that she posts below. Okay, so today we are going to go through some important information of getting started, some of our favorite recipes, what we do to prep to go to the grocery store, and what your next steps will be. First and foremost, some of the important information you need to know to get started. We discussed Pinterest recipes, and I told you to be really sure that they were Whole30 compliant. We could not remember, we talked about it, and we could not remember what it was, if it was the fact that some of them had some dairy, or some of them had some sugar, or some sort of ingredient. There was some sort of ingredient about a year ago when we started looking at them that was in some of the recipes that you couldn't have. When we looked this last couple days, we couldn't find any. That doesn't mean that they're not out there, so just be very, very sure to make sure everything is Whole30 compliant. If you've purchased the book, in the book it will give you a list of things that you can have, and it will tell you the things that you cannot have. So just be sure you check that. You're gonna have to get really good at looking at labels anyway. Now, butter. You cannot have butter because it is dairy product, right? But you can have ghee butter, G-H-E-E, and you can have clarified butter. When I first looked at clarified butter and kind of looked at the process, I thought, oh, that's gonna be such a pain in the rear end. I don't wanna do that. Maybe I'll just have the ghee butter. And then Grace said that she would make the clarified butter, and it's surprisingly easy. So Grace, please tell them why we clarify butter and what the process is and how you do it.
All right, so whenever you have a stick of butter, it's really just the oil and the milk all mixed together. So the process of clarifying, you heat up the butter super hot in the microwave or on the stove top. Be sure not to burn it though. And you get the oil that separates from the milk proteins, and the milk proteins are the little white flaky speck looking things, and the oil is the yellow base. It's the majority of the butter, yeah. And so you'll heat that up, you'll get a spoon, you'll spoon it off the top. You can like pour it into the oil into another container because you're gonna also get some milk protein at the bottom. And yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that's really it. You
just come to an abrupt stop. That's it. So what I hear you saying is that through the heating process, whether you do it in the microwave or on the cooktop, the milk protein separates from the oil. You scoop the milk protein off, and then you store the oil, and that's your clarified butter.
Exactly.
Okay, so clarified butter, usually when she's done it in the past, she'll do all 4 sticks of butter that come in a box, just because it's easier to just do it all at once and have a good amount there. And you can store it in a mason jar. If you store it on your countertop or at room temperature in your pantry, wherever, it is good for up to 3 months. If you put it in the refrigerator, it is good for up to 6 months. It's very easy. I don't know why I thought it was going to be difficult when I first saw it, but it's not. So I prefer the taste of clarified butter personally. You can still use the ghee. There's a lot of people that like ghee. I just prefer the real thing. So that's how you do that. Beef and chicken broth. Want to talk about that briefly. You're going to use a lot of it, and you can't just grab any beef or chicken broth off the counter. So Grace, what's the problem with beef and chicken broth?
All right, so for whatever reason,
I think because it's a preservative.
Is it?
I think so. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a dietitian. Go ahead.
A lot of producers and companies like to put sugar in a bunch of products that it doesn't make sense to have sugar in. So we have a bunch of these beef stocks, chicken broths, all this stuff that has a bunch of unnecessary sugar in it. And so you want to be very careful whenever you're looking for a stock or a broth to make sure that it does not contain any sugar. Yeah. Another way that you might want to like if you can't find a pre-made stock without sugar in it, you could look at a base, which will come in a smaller container, and you can add like a teaspoon per 8 fluid ounces of water, something like that, and you can make your own stock out of that. Or,
Okay.
yeah.
Also in the book it talks about bone broth.
Yeah.
We never made bone broth before, but I really want to try it this time. You can use beef bones, chicken bones, deer bones. I mean, it's deer season. Well, it is when we're videoing this. There's a lot of good nutrients in the bones, especially if you get some that have marrow in it. You can go to your butcher and ask about that. You can ask in your grocery store. Most grocery stores aren't accustomed to saving those types of bones. If you have a really good butcher there, they may set some aside for you. Just make sure that they're handled properly, because if not, that could be a little bit gross. But if you have a local butcher or food processor, something like that, if you'll go talk to them, they'll save those bones for you. Just ask them to save them and keep them refrigerated, and you'll come pick them up. What you do is you put them in a crock pot. You can add celery, carrots, maybe some onion, and you're gonna cook it slow and low for 12 to 24 hours. And the nutrients that are in that bone broth are incredible. It would be great to drink a cup of it a day, actually. We are going to try that this time. We've never tried it before. And so we're gonna try it this time. We'll let you know how it goes. Next thing is tomato sauce and tomato paste. What, again, is the issue with tomato sauce and tomato paste?
Really, it's just the same thing as the broths and stocks. They like to put a bunch of sugar in it. That's really unnecessary. So you want to just check your labels, make sure there's no sugar, and we found a few brands at our local Kroger that didn't have any sugar in them, and they were super awesome.
When it started out, we could only find it like at a Sprouts or Whole Foods, but we did start. Kroger's just gotten really good. I don't know if they have a Kroger in your area. Just check with some of your big chain grocery stores, see if they have those things. Sometimes they may order them for you if you order enough of it. And once again, I say it a bajillion times, you can also order these things off of Amazon, and you can order them in bulk, and sometimes you can save a little bit money. Okay? Next, coconut milk. Ta-da! These are two brands that we have purchased. This one I believe we usually get at our local store. This is the brand that I probably order most online. They are perfectly good. The only thing that's in them is organic coconut, water, and guar. Okay? Same thing I believe for this one. This one's just not organic. Okay, pricing, they're pretty similar. If you find a sale, get them on sale. I just ordered a big case of these from Amazon so that we would have them on hand. Now, you're gonna see that some of the recipes call for coconut milk, just like you see here, and coconut cream. You can buy coconut cream separately, but you don't have to. Grace, tell them what they can do to get coconut cream.
All right. So in your coconut milk, you have the cream and the water. And when that all mixes together, you get your coconut milk. So what you would want to do is sometimes, you know, whenever you open a can, you see a white solid and then like some liquid. That's actually the coconut cream and the coconut water. And you can either mix those up and get your coconut milk, or you can separate out the fat and the cream of the coconut. And if your can is already like all mixed together and really liquidy like this one is, you can set it in the fridge for like an hour maybe, and the fat will separate from the water and it will rise to the top, and you just spoon it out. And it's also really helpful to leave a can of coconut milk in the fridge at all times, because you never know when you're gonna need it.
Correct. So when you take one out, just put another one in, and then you'll always have coconut cream handy. You're going to use it in some of your sauces and different things that make you feel like you're not missing any dairy. So
also,
yes,
another really important tip on the coconut milk. You want to make sure it's full fat, because if it's like really low fat, you're going to have a hard time getting out the cream, because that's what all the fat is.
Very good point. Okay, so next, difficulties making ranch. We have had a lot of people say it's very hard for them to make the ranch. My friend Tara, hi Tara, is one of those that had difficulties making ranch. Sometimes when people had difficulties, it was the difference in using a blender versus using a food processor. However, we had success using a blender. And so Grace, tell them, what is it that people are missing when they're making the ranch? Because to make it, you have to make Whole30 mayo. Then you turn the Whole30 mayo into ranch. So what is it that people usually you're finding kind of mess up on, or what causes them problems?
All right, so anytime you're making an emulsification of anything, you want to make sure all your ingredients are at the same temperature, which it's easiest to just do like room temperature. So you're probably going to have an egg in the emulsification. You know, I know the Whole30 mayo does. So what you'd want to do that is set an egg out on your counter a couple hours before, or if you forget, like me, I do that all the time. Get a warm cup of water, set the egg in there, and let it sit for like 10 minutes, and it'll warm up a little bit more to room temperature. And whenever you're actually making it, you want to make sure you're slowly, very, very slowly pouring the oil in.
Painfully slowly at times.
Yes, very. Also, whenever you're making it, you want to make sure you use a light oil. This is extra light virgin olive oil. And if you use a darker olive oil, you get this kind of bitter taste. I don't know if any of you...
The flavor's very strong.
Yes. Very. So you want to make sure you're using a lighter oil, drizzle it very slowly, make sure everything's the same temperature, and really that's, I feel like, the main places on mayo where people tend to make mistakes.
For sure. And with her food processor, she can dump the oil in, and the food processor just very slowly lets the oil in at the speed that she would have had to have poured it by hand if she was doing that. So if your food processor has that, great. Just pour it in and it will slowly introduce the oil into the mixture below. If not, you just trickle it in, okay? And that's the big secret. Everything the same temperature and slowly pour the oil in. Zoodles. Look, before I did this, well, even when we started it, Grace kept trying to say, you should try zoodles, you should try zoodles. I said, what the heck's a zoodle? And she said, well, it's noodles made from zucchini. Well, I like zucchini, but the thought of that, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really know. Okay, now I don't even like pasta. I wish everything was made with zoodles. It feels so much better eating that, and the flavor's great. It doesn't taste like zucchini to me, which I don't think zucchini really has a flavor, but that's just me. So Grace, how do we make zoodles? How can everyone make them? Because they're gonna wanna know.
All right, so at our local Kroger, we found 2 different types of spiralizers, and
We should have Kroger as a sponsor. We've said their name like
We
a bajillion
should.
times.
Kroger, if you're
kidding.
listening, please sponsor us.
Okay, not kidding. Yeah, please sponsor us. Kidding.
Okay, so this one has a wider setting and a finer setting. So if you're wanting to make some like fettuccine zoodles, you would use this one. I tend to use this one more often because I find it easier on my hand whenever I'm cranking out 7 zucchinis through this. And there's very little waste. This little inner part is the only thing that gets wasted. So I just have like a little tube of zucchini at the end. So
Looks like a straw.
so I prefer using this one.
How do you do it?
You literally just cut off the bottom of the zucchini, put it in, and crank it like.
You just twist it.
Yeah, literally,
Okay.
it comes out in little
Very
spirals.
easy. It's so easy,
Yeah.
it's hard for her to articulate that. Okay, so zoodles are awesome. So tell me, when we're meal prepping and you've made spaghetti sauce and you've got zoodles in there, do you cook the zoodles before you put it in the container? Or when I just heat it up in the microwave at work, does that count as the cooking?
All right, so anytime I have a warm zoodle dish, I want to make sure that I cook the zoodles before, because if you don't, then whenever they microwave it for the first time, it's going to lose a lot of the water and it's going to shrink and you're going to feel like you're not eating a lot.
And water down the dish?
Yeah. So if it's going to be...
That's happened before.
So
Go ahead.
if you're going to be reheating it like in the microwave before you eat it, you want to make sure you cook it beforehand. But if it's a cold zoodle dish, like if you have an avocado pesto on it, you know, and if you'd rather like eat it cold, like straight out of the fridge, then you could have them raw. And I personally like the flavor of raw zoodles better, because it just tastes like regular pasta. Like, I feel like it doesn't have a real zucchini taste. So if you're picky, then maybe start with a raw zucchini zoodle dish. And yeah, so for cooking them, if you're gonna have them hot, you could saute them in your ghee butter, your clarified butter, whatever you want.
Coconut oil.
Yeah. And
just heat them up basically.
yeah,
Okay.
really. Just make sure they lose some of the water.
Okay.
That way it doesn't shrink as much whenever you...
Good tip. Thanks. Okay, so Whole30 approved Laura bars. I don't know if you know this or not, but Laura bars, some of them, not all of them, are Whole30 approved. This one right here is the coconut cream pie. And this one right here is carrot cake. Coconut cream pie is my favorite of the two. These are not meal replacement bars. These are for emergencies, okay? So if you're a female, you can keep a couple in your purse. Maybe if you're a man or female, a couple in your briefcase, maybe in your glove box, maybe a couple at the desk at work, or, you know, of course you're gonna have some at home. Anyway, but they're good to have on hand, so if you are just ravenously hungry, that you can grab one and eat it. Let's say you're at work and everyone is, maybe you've brought your stuff but everyone's going out to lunch and you don't have time to eat before you go. You can grab one of these bars just to help hold you over. You can have water or coffee or whatever you're gonna have at lunch, tea with no sweetener in it, and you can still enjoy all of the companionship and fellowship with your office mates or whoever, and then you can come back and have your lunch. That's really what they're for. It is not meant to be a meal replacement. It's not meant to be a snack. It is not meant to be a dessert. The ones that you can have, and yes, I'm reading off of this list, coconut cream pie, cashew cookie, carrot cake, which I just showed you, apple pie, cherry pie, pecan pie, lots of pies, banana bread, which I want to try eventually, lemon bar, chocolate coconut chew, and key lime pie. Those are all Whole30 approved. So if you didn't get that, just rewind this and you can catch them back up. Grocery store prep. For us, one of the most important things was to pay attention to the amount of servings that each of the meals made, because you're going to notice those recipes, usually some of them make 2 servings, but some of them make 4 servings, some of them make 6 servings. Well, that's fantastic because you can have them and you can save them. Like, I'll eat the same dish a couple of times during the week, so we don't have to make as many recipes over the weekend. But pay attention to it, because if not, you are going to end up with a lot more food than you need to get at the grocery store. A lot more food. You're going to see that some of the dishes call for the same things. Like in the beginning, we made a lot of stuff with sweet potatoes, almost to the point that like when I hit week 2.5, when I was like at week 2.5, I thought, I'm gonna gag if I have another sweet potato. We have to switch it up. And it was my fault because I was picking out the recipes. But so you're gonna have some reoccurring things. You're gonna have kale that's in there. You're gonna have some potatoes, onions. Just be sure that you really look at how much you need for each recipe and figure it out before you go. Don't just guess. We did have 2 incidences. One in which we had more Brussels sprouts than any number of humans could actually eat. She does meal prep for several people. She's done it but with 4 to 9 people at a time. And so sometimes we didn't really, in the beginning, we didn't really know how much food that we were going to need to buy. And so we had a Brussels sprouts incident, and we once had a green bean incident. By the way, you can have green beans. I realize that they are a bean, which is a legume, but they are, the nutritional value makes them okay. So you can have those. Just be careful on your ingredients. That's what we say. And when we went to the store, you can do this on your own too, but when we went to the store, we didn't want to spend much time at the store, so we would kind of have a race. And I would take everything that was in the produce section, and she would take all of the other stuff in the store, because my list was extensively longer and hers wasn't as long, but she was kind of, you know, going all over the store, and we would kind of make a race of it. And we could do all of the shopping in 30 minutes and get out of there. So we made a game of it. If you have someone that's doing the Whole30 with you, go shopping together. It's so much easier when you go together. And you're gonna find that you probably will purchase more produce than you have ever purchased before. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to eat healthy. Okay, so if you're on a diet of ramen noodles or boxed mac and cheese, it's probably gonna be a little more expensive. However, what we found is when we really looked at it and made sure we weren't getting any waste, it's actually a lot more affordable. When we looked at what we were probably spending on groceries and then what we would spend going out or grabbing a quick bite of lunch with friends, and then you have a tip, even fast food. Gosh, you almost can't even get fast food for less than, you know, $8 or $10 depending on where you get it. It was a lot more expensive. I actually saved money doing the Whole30. So don't be afraid of it. Just get your list, make sure you know what you're getting, and make sure it's as accurate as possible, and you'll get better each time you go to the store. Now for some of our favorite recipes. White chicken chili was one that we got off from Pinterest. It's fantastic. Everyone that's tried it just loves it and asks for more. So the white chicken chili off of Pinterest, the 1-pan balsamic chicken bake is great. Just be sure your balsamic vinegar does not have sugar in it. They try to sneak that in a lot with balsamic vinegar, so be very careful with that one. You can make a Whole30 breakfast casserole. You can do it in a 9x13 baker, split it up, you've got your breakfast for the week. The Salisbury steak meatballs, which we talked about last time, are my favorite. Those are on Pinterest as well. You can do a breakfast frittata. You'll see that in one of the Whole30 books. That's fantastic. It makes a big, I think she always did it in our cast iron skillet, and we would just cut it up, and that would be several breakfasts for me. Also, the shepherd's pie is a good comfort food. If you're wanting some comfort foods right in the beginning, you can make it with sweet potatoes or regular potatoes as the topping instead of the crust. And then the turkey curry meatballs with roasted veggies. Oh, so good. It comes with it's in the Whole30 book. It comes with a creamy basil sauce it's just fantastic. I mean, I expect to have that in a restaurant somewhere. And then the veggie combination is actually what made me like kale, which I never in a million years thought I would say. But it's kale, some potatoes, and cauliflower, and it's all roasted in the oven. It's just fantastic. I asked her to make it all the time, and she really got sick of meatballs. Between that and the Salisbury steak meatballs, she was so done with meatballs. Anyway, and of course, make yourself some Whole30 ranch. Next thing to start, you've got to pick a start date. Mine is January 2nd, 2018. And you can pick whatever date. Just know that when I post something that maybe says day 3, it's my day 3. It doesn't have to be your day 3. But try to start relatively soon while you're thinking about it and while you're motivated. Next thing is get your house ready. Get rid of all the junk in your house. And I know for some of you, you have children, and that may be difficult. For me, when we did it, my whole family decided to eat healthier, so it was easy. We just threw out all the junk. If you're not able to do that, maybe have a section of your pantry or a shelf of your pantry that is a no-go for you. You can even put a piece of paper over it or a cloth that you can hide it from you, whatever you want to do so that you don't realize it's in there. And just hide it and keep the other stuff out. Whatever you have to do to help you be successful, do it. Remove the stuff that you can't have if you can, and then just keep the other stuff out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, okay? The next thing is find an accountability or a support partner. The first time I went through it, 2 friends of mine, Tara and Marty, hi ladies, they went through it with me, and we texted on a daily basis. Sometimes we were a little bit whiny, I'm gonna admit. Sometimes we said we were about to bite our husbands' heads off, I'm gonna admit. Sometimes maybe that happens when we're not on the diet too, I don't know. Anyway, find yourself a support partner, someone that can do it with you. If you don't have someone, maybe comment below. Maybe, you know, someone could be your support partner that watches the video. I don't know, but find yourself a support partner. You can use your spouse. A little bit tricky. If your spouse is going on the diet with you, perfect. If they're not going on the diet with you, it's either going to be great or it's either not going to be great. In my experience with my friends, your spouse is either going to be one thing or another. They're either going to show you too much grace, and they're not going to be someone that really gets to hold you accountable, or maybe they're going to hold you extra accountable and it's going to hurt your feelings. Either one of those don't work. My husband would be on the soft side. He would be really nice about it, and I would not be held accountable. So find yourself a buddy to go through it with you. Even if they don't go through it with you, just find yourself someone that will be that accountability partner, that will listen to you when you call, that will say, no, don't go grab something. Take the 15 minutes you need to make X, Y, or Z, okay? Which leads me to have 2 or 3 easy, fast recipes that you can make on hand. Whether it's grilled chicken breast that you have set aside that you can put in a salad and you can get that together really quickly if you're hungry. Also the little baked potatoes that have the taco meat in it and some avocado, that's easy to put together. All you have to do is brown a little meat. So go through the recipes, find a few things that you like that say is a very, very quick prep time, and be sure that you always have those on hand so that in a desperate time you don't make a desperate decision and eat something that's not so great, okay? Last but not least, weigh, measure, and take the dreaded photos of yourself. I did not take the photos the first time. I was like, I don't even want that on my camera. Quite frankly, I still don't want it on my camera, okay? However, I was really disappointed that I didn't take them because I lost 18 something pounds the first time I did the Whole30. So be sure that you take those photos. You don't have to show anybody, but go ahead and get your weight, write it down somewhere or you will forget. Get your measurements. People usually measure their thighs, their hips, their waist, their chest, and their upper arms. Just be sure you know where you measure, right? So you can either say, well, I measured 8 inches up from my knee, or right by this freckle, whatever it is. Make sure you know where you measure so that when you remeasure, you're measuring in the same spot. Typically on your thigh, it's just above the mid part of your thigh. Same thing for your upper arm. People with their waist, it's usually right above, about 1 inch above their belly button. All of our waists are in different spots though, so don't use that. Just wherever you feel like is your natural waist and your natural hips. Just be sure that you know, so when you remeasure, you're as accurate as possible. Then after you get those things, put them away and don't look at them again for 30 days. Okay? Last but not least, sorry this is so long, is I want to talk to you about the difference between a goal and a commitment. A goal is something that you're going to try to achieve, right? So I have a goal of running a marathon, okay? You know, if I don't run a marathon, I'm really cool with that, okay? That's my goal. However far I get, that's great, okay? Or the difference in I have a commitment to run the marathon. A commitment is more serious. I kind of think of it with marriage, like, oh, I have a goal to be married to you forever. That sounds kind of weak, right? I have a commitment to be with you till death do us part. That's a little bit different. It's a little bit more serious. And here's the thing, when you think about New Year's resolutions, you know, it's kind of funny because people just quit making them, and they quit making them because it's a goal. It wasn't a commitment and they didn't stick with it. And what happens is when you set a goal or you say you're going to do something and you don't do something, your brain then goes, hey, every time we set this goal, we don't really mean it. So you kind of self-sabotage before you even start. So what I would ask you to do and what I would encourage you to do is look at this as a commitment. Okay, you are making a commitment to yourself, a commitment to your accountability partner, whoever it is, but make a commitment that this is something that you're going to do for 30 days with no cheats, no nothing. You're just going to stay completely laser focused for 30 days and make this a commitment. And when you do that and you do it successfully, guess what? Next time you choose to make that commitment, it's going to be even easier because your brain's going to go, oh my gosh, when she or he says this and they make this commitment, they're really serious. And it is going to help you to stay on track better than you've ever done before. So if you've been on a diet before or tried to change your eating habits and maybe you weren't as successful, think about it a different way, guys. This should not be a goal. This should be a commitment. Remember, you can do anything for 30 days. Okay, so find you a buddy, get prepared. Our next video will show you how we meal prep, and Grace here will be putting out a video of how to make Whole30 ranch. So if there's any questions after today, you'll be sure to know how to do it. Okay, until next time, get to prepping. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.